we will maybe hear from them eventually and say, okay, what does practice in August or late July need to look like? Because Miami only had 5 practices, in the spring, or 4. Like 1, 2, 3. No, they had 5. They had 5 days on the field, and then they were off for spring break, and then coronavirus, they didn't go back. So you didn't get your full 15. You're installing a new offense, things like that, yada, yada, yada. So he can look at it from a program standpoint and say, okay, for us to be in a spot where we feel comfortable with what we're doing based upon the lack of spring install time, when maybe we would want to get back on the field to best optimize our ability to perform, should there be a season in the fall at the time that it's already scheduled to be. So he could say something like that. But I mean, yeah, like it's just kind of a thing where we're dealing with the present, and the future is a thing that we're going to have to worry about at that time. But we kind of have to get through where we are for something like that.
Absolutely. And I want people to understand that are watching and listening to this football discussion that we clearly and certainly know, each one of us, I believe I can speak for Cam, that there are much more important things to think about, be concerned about, and so forth with football. We are discussing football because this is a football show. So we've gotten past the actual, we know we're in this situation all together. We need to do all the safe and wise things to get through this. We need to pull together, literally, figuratively, but not physically, that's for sure. But
not to cut you off, but I mean, like, that's why we haven't done a show the last couple of weeks. You know what I mean? Because like real life happens, and like, either I was tired, or, secret day job, or I had to do something around the house for, that I had to do, and unfortunately wasn't able to get here. So like, I mean, if you're like, oh, wow, we haven't seen you guys on screen together for a while, like this is part of that. So we're not ignoring that. We're just leaning into the connection that we have and the content that we're creating and the topic that we're discussing here. But do not take that to be that we're ignoring, the situation of life, because we're obviously not.
Absolutely. So we're pushing on with the football aspect of this. And I just have to think that obviously the nuts and bolts of the situation are different for every program. The one advantage that, or lack of a disadvantage, I guess Miami would have, would be not having to deal with a new head coach and a new head coaching staff, or a new coaching staff that would have to deal with all the rigors of the off season, still trying to implement, even though, as you mentioned, a new scheme on offense is in play here. Look to your neighbors to the north and your rivals at Florida State, new head coach, new coaching staff, terminology, culture, structure, organization, relationships, all those have to be had and were to a certain extent, but not on the field working through spring. And so that's got to be a pretty big disadvantage, I would think. But like you say, it's one thing for Manny Diaz in this particular case to review his program, his situation, and think, man, I would really like to have this in a reasonable fashion, knowing what's going on out in the world and trying to take in the information we have to have set a reasonable bar versus what's going to be dictated to him by either there's no season, there's an abbreviated season. Yes, we're starting on time, but you're going to have to be limited to this, whatever it is. And I would think that we would start to get those answers in the next 6 weeks or so.
I mean, it stands to reason. 6 weeks from now would be the middle of June. Wait, April, May. There we go. Every day is just a day right now. I saw somebody on Twitter said that, during this time we have the calendar's been truncated to 3 days: yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I mean, it's just one of those things. So, I mean, May, June-ish, we'll see. Like Miami is already, or in the ACC is canceled all sporting activities through the end of the academic year, which would be that time. So that end of May, beginning of June time. And there's a lot of things going on. Like these NCAA teams or the schools are going to get less money from the NCAA because the main moneymaker was the men's basketball tournament, because the bowl games are run by bowl committees. Like they're their own businesses that put on TV shows. The NCAA puts on the men's college basketball tournament. And I say men's because it generates more revenue than the women's tournament. You can debate the merits of that, but that's just at the point of time right now, a fact. So you're going to get less and less money from the NCAA to your institution. I've already seen some Division II and Division III colleges have said that at the end of this year, they are closing the college, the end, because of that kind of a thing. So there's a lot going on, man. But, hopefully, I mean, when we get on the other side of this coronavirus situation, hopefully it'll be sooner than later. And I mean sooner in terms of months, not days, if that makes sense. Then hopefully we'll see, where things will go. But in terms of, so knowing all of that, I'm going to focus straight on the football. So we've already put all the context. We know. Okay, we know. Speaking about the football, the earlier that Miami can get on the field, the better in terms of practice. Because again, we had 10 practices that were not able to happen during the spring because of the situation. And that's 10 sessions that you could have player development happen, especially on offense, which is where we need it because we're installing a new system, trying to integrate new guys. A lot of the freshmen, the early enrollees were on the offensive side of the ball. So you're trying to see those guys at running back, at wide receiver, at tight end, at quarterback. No, Tyler Van Dyke is not going to start. It's going to be Derek King starting this year, period. But they can be on the field, get the reps and learn, get their connections, their timings going, things like that. So having lost those 10 practices, it would behoove Miami's situation for the 2020 football season, whenever that's going to be, for them to get on the field earlier as opposed to later.